Hey friends, today I'm going to be working on rosemary. I'll show you how I planted it in my garden and how I used it in my design. Plus, I'll share some of the health benefits of rosemary. It's a bush called Tuscan Blue, and Tuscan Blue is one of the chef's favorites for culinary. I initially thought, oh my gosh, I could do a hedge, but when I got home and I really studied my space, which is what you should be doing, I decided that a hedge wasn't going to work for me. Don't really have the space for it. If you have a lot of space, if you have a walkway that gets plenty of sun, you could use it in that scenario. This is something you should have in your garden. It smells delicious when the wind blows. This is the kitchen staple rosemary. Now here's the tip. Whenever you can, keep the tag and put it in a journal. That way you can reference back. You know there are so many different varieties of plants, and rosemary is no exception. So in looking at the tag, I know that it blooms in the spring and that it's used as an accent piece in the landscape. The back of the card probably contains the most useful information, which it tells you how to water, what zone it is, what size it gets to be, and how you're supposed to space it when you plant it. As with any plant, you will want to make the hole twice as big as your pot. So if you have this size of pot, make your hole twice as big so that you can kind of create like a basin for water. And what I end up doing with all my plants whenever I go ahead and either transplant or plant new is give them some kind of root starter to help them out. You know, it kind of helps alleviate the shock. And you can also put water in it before you put the soil back on. This is the plant starter that I have. It's worked well for me. It's in liquid form. You basically put like a cap full with some water and then add it onto your water basin that you just created. It doesn't matter what brand you use. Some of them are in granular form, but most of them will include the ingredient vitamin B1, which is what really helps your plant. So just make sure you read the label and use it according to that. So let's talk about the fun part, the garden design. So when I shared with my husband that I wanted to use rosemary as an ornamental, he said, hey, well, it's not really the most beautiful plant. It's kind of just green and it only blooms in the spring. And I said, oh, my friend, but you forget that it's an evergreen and it's a mid-sized plant that is perfect as a backdrop for all kinds of other beauties. I have decided to plant rosemary right in front of the fence because it only gets to about 4 feet tall, and that's how tall the fence is. Now, let's watch it grow. Here I'm showing it full grown, about 4 feet tall, so it's at its max height. It's not going to get there very quickly. It's not going to happen overnight. And other things around it are going to grow as well, so let me show you that. On the right side will be a Chinese pistache tree that will likely already be at this size by the time the rosemary is its full size. And on the left side, there's going to be a chaste tree that will also be about this size once rosemary is at its full grown size. So this is what the future probably looks like. Those bottle brushes that are there right now, those little bubbly brushes, are going to be completely gone because they're going to eventually obstruct the way. And probably something like a gardenia or maybe a hydrangea or something a little bit more showy will probably take its place. Something that doesn't grow as tall and will not obstruct the view. So now that I've defined my space, defined where the gate is, I've given it some symmetry, given it some depth, different variety of sizes and shapes and colors, I can now add a punch of color with adding some annuals in front of the rosemary. And instead of maybe having a straight line, I can start adding some curves and just giving it a little bit more whimsical feel to it. So this is where the fun would begin. So this is Tuscan Blue Rosemary. It's easy to grow, tastes delicious, and it's good for you. It's wonderful and lots of people can grow it, but it's best in zones 8 and above. If you live in a zone that is below zone 8, you can still grow it, put it in a pot, make it look good over winter. It's going to provide you lots of interest, but remember, you got to winterize it. But other than that, it's a beautiful addition to your garden.